Hello and welcome back to NA Turbo. So I thought I'd do a video because we haven't had anything up on the channel for a while. So apologies about that. Life, work and everything else getting in the way, unfortunately. But we have been out to a couple of shows. Went to Festival of the Unexceptional a couple of weekends ago, which was amazing. So I took Reg the Rover to that. So he went down pretty well and spoke to some really nice people, including two guys that actually went to purchase him before I did, and I beat them to it. So yeah, small world. I thought I'd just do a quick fleet update because we haven't had one for a while. So sort of start back to front first. So in the garage behind me is sitting the SD1. So that's very nearly roadworthy now. So Ryan solved the problem with the engine where it didn't want to start and run when it was hot. So that turned out it was almost too much compression. So because the engine and the heads and the block had been skimmed and everything, it had just gone a bit too far, which was causing too much compression, so it wasn't actually running properly. So he's actually bought some thicker performance head gaskets, which has lowered the compression, and now he's actually working perfectly. So he's just got a small exhaust leak to fix on the SD1, and then hopefully you'll be able to bring him out and sort of start running him in. He's been off the road obviously since Ryan's nut and bolt restoration, and we just couldn't physically get him running properly. But yeah, now he's all up and running. So yeah, hopefully a little bit of tinkering more on just sorting out some exhaust leaks, and we can sort of start featuring in videos and taking him out for a spin. The other reason why I round the back is old Hannibal here is looking very sorry for himself at the moment, and unfortunately I could just see his number plates starting to come unstuck, so I need to solve that. But yeah, Hannibal's round here because basically a few months back now we did the rear suspension, the top mounts had gone, so I did those. There's still a bit of an issue with that, but they're much better. But after that, I did his oil change, took him out for a spin, and noticed that he was misfiring. He'd misfire when you first started him. He'd also then misfire when he'd be warming in traffic, and that isn't normal for him. So I knew there was something that wasn't quite right there. And then thinking back to it, it was a similar issues he had when he first had his head gasket problem the last time. So what we did is, I'll just flip his bonnet up, we can have a look at the majesty that is the 7M GTE. If I can do this with one hand properly, I may need to put you down so you're not just looking at bonnet. Bear with me 1 second and I'll be back. There we go, and we're back. So yeah, 7M GTE, the beast. So yeah, basically something wasn't quite right. So we got him back. It had all the remnants of the head gasket fault. He was still not using water, but it was disappearing. So that also rang alarm bells for me. So we stripped off all this top cover and the intake and everything here. We took the spark plugs out, and you could see spark plug number 6 at the back was wet, and it wasn't a fuel smell. So again, that pinged more sort of alert bells. And we've got a borescope, just a cheap one, with a little display. So we borescoped down all the spark plug holes, pistons 1 to 5, absolutely fine. Went into 6, and sure enough, you could see the pink coolant was sat on the top of the dome of the piston. So yeah, that sort of confirmed it. And we also managed just to get sort of a little cotton bud down there on a pole, and obviously just dabbed it a bit and obviously pulled it back out, and yeah, it was pink. So yeah, his coolant's going into cylinder 6, which is exactly the same cylinder the head gasket went on last time. So he was actually going to come off the road for welding this month anyway, which is still going to happen. I'm doing a welding course actually next week, so my plan is to hopefully, with Ryan's help as the professional welder, be able to sort of start tackling some of the rot on the back of the car. So that's sort of the plan for that, but this obviously is throwing an extra spanner in the works. So yeah, we had the head skimmed previously, There was quite a lot of damage to the head where it previously been sat with water in it, so the head gasket had rotted into the cylinder head. So the engineering company welded it quite a bit, and it's quite a while ago now, so I can't remember. I think they decked it, but yeah, there's something still not quite right with that cylinder. Could just be the head gasket fault again from a dodgy head gasket. I don't know. But I've used things like ARP solid studs in it, which was to help combat this. Now, also the car's internal boost controller has got a fault, so it can overboost. So the turbo, the massive turbo, which you can see here, I replaced when we first put him back off the road with a cheap Chinesium eBay one, on the basis that I could replace 8 of them for the cost of having that repaired. It works fine. The only problem is the wastegate spring and everything is quite hard, so it's ramping in a load of boost. And obviously with the car's boost controller gone dicky, it's sort of unlimited. The engine does have a shut off at a certain PSI. I think it's 30s PSI. Hannibal also likes to do that, shut his bonnet on you when you're working on him, just for fun. But yeah, so that's that shuts off about 20 to 30 PSI, I think, in the engine, and then it flashes the engine light and you have to turn him on and off again. So it protects the engine, but maybe that additional boost that's going in hasn't helped with the head gasket and the head if it's weak on that particular cylinder at the back. We didn't see it the last time, so I don't know. So the plan also is now going to be off the road for an extended time, probably well over winter into next summer, as well as starting the welding on that side and hopefully finishing that. We're going to strip the head back off and see what's going on with him, whether it needs more welding, whether it's got a crack in it, excuse me, whether the head's junk or whether it's just a head gasket fault yet. We don't know. So yes, that was a lovely surprise from old Hannibal here, literally 400 miles after I'd serviced him, which, if you've seen my servicing video further back on the channel, is not a pleasant experience, even with the tools. So yes, he's sort of in the naughty corner at the moment, but there'll be more money to spend on him because the suspension at the back isn't quite right, which is why it's affecting the rear mounts. They're third party, quite good shock absorbers on it, but they were used when we got them 12 plus years ago, and they don't quite fit right. So I suspect that's what's banging against the rear and causing a slight tap from the rear. So I'm going to get him full new shockers the whole way around. So that's on the list to do, as well as the head work. He's also, let me shut his bonnet down, ready for the clang, clang. He's also rotted out when we were doing the suspension. You won't be able to see, but behind here, the metal sort of disc plates, and you cannot find them for love nor money. So luckily Toyota were very helpful and gave me the original part numbers. I even went to Toyota to try and see if you could source them. They can't get them. So I'm going to do some scouring on eBay with the original part numbers to try and source those, because they're causing a grinding noise at the back and they've rotted out. At the end of the day, he's 30 odd years old and they're right in the fire of water and everything else. So hopefully I'll be able to find them. So that's yeah, that's poor sorry looking old Hannibal at the moment. So if we have a walk round to the front to the other cars for the minute, I'm hoping that my wireless mic still got enough charge. I didn't prepare, so it's on a bit on vapor at the moment. So we'll pan past this here for the moment. We'll touch back on him in a minute. So yeah, Reg is still going great guns. Reg's the Rover 620 Ti. So yeah, I took him to Festival of the Exceptional. So yeah, he went down very well there. He's doing very well. Really, with him, it's a tidying exercise, so more tidying on the paintwork just to get him up. I did my first ever spray with an air compressor. So if you remember from previous videos, this rear bumper was all grey because it was off a different car, because it had the holes drilled for the parking sensors. So I actually sprayed that with the air gun myself. Did it completely last minute, a week before Festival of the Exceptional. Thought I'd got all the right grades of sandpaper, etc. Had none of that. So it's not perfect, far from it, but for now it's good enough, and it's lacquered as well, so I just need to get some sanding and polishing to make it look a little bit better. The other thing I did as well on him was from the previous owner's attempts at paint, this was had all still sort of paint marks and lines on it in here, so I just quickly blew that in, but that needs some lacquer on it as well. So yeah, just general tidying with him. Still on the lookout for a gearbox, because at 190,000 it is like stirring a pudding. So that's Reg. We've got the old Hillman here, who's now on the road, and Ryan's been using sort of locally, 20-30 miles here, 20-30 miles there. Absolutely great. Pootles along. The only thing he has a tendency to do is blow his fuse, which controls not only the indicators but the lights and the wipers occasionally, because the indicator stalk is a bit dicky and seems to fuse itself. So that's on Ryan's list to do. So yeah, basically you end up going back to hand signalling because it blows all your indicators. But yeah, he's bedding in very well and being used. Been to a couple of local shows, but the idea Ryan's got is to take him further. So that's him. Rado the Corrado is just sat out there for the moment. So he's now back on the road after the electrical work. He's MOT'd. Had an issue with a battery recently that I'm sorting out, which I panically thought was the alternator going. Thank goodness it isn't, because on these cars, it's a pain in the backside. You basically have to strip off the bumper, has to come off to change the alternator. The whole of the slam panel at the front that contains the headlights, the grille and everything else has to lift off and come forward, because the alternator sits right at the front about there. So yeah, it's a pain in the backside. So I was thankful that when we tested it, the alternator is charging, so it's not the alternator, it's a pure battery fault. So that's him. He's still being Rado the Corrado, throwing electrical gremlins at me. So I need to have a look at the washers. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. I don't know if that's just a blocked pipe or something on there, so I need to look at that. And also his passenger side window regulator has now decided to fail as well. So much less annoying than the driver's side, because obviously you need to open the driver's window to get tickets, etc. when you go places. So I'll need to source another window regulator for that at some point, but they are very expensive and very hard to find, so he'll just live with that for the moment. So that's him. And then as we come back up here, we've got Ryan's Daily, which is the MG ZR 190 in the colour changing paint. So still being a great daily for him, still thirsty as anything. So hopefully that's where this little baby comes in. And so this is the latest edition. This is a Mark 1 Renault Laguna 1.8 RT, I believe. So this is Frank. He's been named. Yeah, so Ryan bought this from a guy up in Glasgow, I believe. It's very low mileage, 70,000-80,000 mile car, very original. Paintwork is amazing on it, given it spent most of its life near the sea, down in Brighton, I believe. And it's also thought to be one of the oldest Lagunas, one of the first into the country. So we've still got the paperwork from its PDI sheet by Cat down in Southampton, who used to do them. So he's on a 90, he's on an M plate, but a 94M. So yeah, he's latest. It's had pretty much standard. The front fog lights wouldn't have been standard on this particular model range, but the previous owner had Renault ones actually fitted, not by Renault, but by a third-party garage. So he's got those. He's also got these very fetching Renault dealer fit alloy wheels. So yeah, look a bit interesting, and they're on 14s, believe it or not. So I believe we'll just have a quick tour around him. So the paintwork for one of our cars is actually exceptional. The guy who originally had it did lots of care and attention to the paintwork, had bits come up and done when they needed to be doing. There's only a few bits on the car that are a bit annoying. So again, around the rear, he's very good condition as well. Still got its original Scots Renault there. dealer sticker on it, and here you can see the only actual paint issue on the car, and this was because at some point this rear screen got smashed, and so basically it had a new rear glass in it, and I shan't name the company, but one of the major glass replenishers, and we've had this happen to another car, scratched the paint whilst trying to put it in, and then it rusts from underneath. And this generally you only see when they've had glass replaced. We had a Toyota Carina many years ago that had a front windscreen replaced, and it started bubbling from the top again because they weren't careful with the tools when they took the glass out and scratched it. And obviously you're not watching them, you let them get on with the work, and so you don't know until this sort of thing starts happening. So Ryan's got to fix that. Interior wise, he's very good. I think I've got his key here, so it's actually got its original Renault key. So I think this might actually be there. Ooh, there we go. With these Renault ones, you have to point it in exactly the right direction to get it up. So just have a spin inside. So this has lifted a bit. Ryan's going to try and do something like that again. It's just the age. So everything actually electrical works in here. So front electric windows, got electric mirrors, no air conditioning in this one. The interior is very good, and typical sort of Renault dashboard in there. Ignore this gear stick. This was put on by somebody who's horrendous. Me and Ryan both hate it, and it's coming off and being thrown in the bin, and an original equipment one put on. So that's sort of the front of him, and then you sort of have a quick look in the back as well. So yeah, the interior's worn very well. As I say, it's quite a low mileage car, so it's very good. So this is Frank. The only problem Ryan's been having is when he got it, the front brakes were sticking, or felt like they were sticking, so they were getting red hot when Ryan took it out for a drive. So he's replaced the front calipers on it, the flexi lines, and that's it also bent one of the carriers because it was seized so badly. And the car's got an MOT, so that's all been sorted now. So the front's fine, but now one of the rear sides on the opposite side, I believe, is getting warm. So think that might be, when he took it off, it had a collapsed wheel bearing anyway, so that wasn't helping matters. But we think it might actually be one of the brake cylinders, so he's got one of those on order. So hopefully Frank will be up and running, and then this will take over some of his daily duties, because this is it's actually a single 0.8 valve engine in this 1.8. So this will do about 42 to the gallon, compared to the sort of late 20s Ryan's getting in these ZT. So obviously a bigger saving on fuel for him to go to work in. So yeah, that's Frank for you. So that's the latest edition. So that's just a bit of a fleet update. Also, you might have seen the MR2. It's actually our dad's sat here in the back. It's looking very sorry for itself as a retirement project. Now, this hasn't been ran in probably about 2-3 years now. So I'm actually going to do a will it start video at some point on this. And we'll explain a bit more about the car. But yeah, if you guys want to see that, do just let me know. It's as I say, it's been sat here for many a year now, and the last time it was started, it was only just to move it. So yeah, we can do a will it start on that and take you through, what sort of things I'd check if I was starting a car that's been sat for a long time. So yeah, that's that. So just a bit of a fleet update. So I shall sign off for now and say keep safe, everybody, and I'll see you all soon. Thank you. Bye bye.